Actually, there is.
I'm still reviewing everything bootstrap.
Okay. I pretty much don't catch what you're saying, but if you don't mind, kindly use the chat room, so that you let me know, and I'll do most of the talking, and today you'll do most of the coding. That's how we are going to be moving today.
Okay.
So to avoid lots of buffers, a very good evening. Over the first few days, we've been looking at HTML, which is basically a markup language that helps us to build different things for the front end. We have gone ahead to look at CSS and some front end JavaScript. Today, I want us to start integrating PHP within our own project. And what you have right now, kindly take me to your htaccess file, because in one of our previous classes we had created an htaccess file on the root directory. If you don't have one, please create one. The file name is .htaccess. I prefer if it's in lowercase. Yeah. So, do you recall
Yep.
everything that we had talked about that goes in the htaccess file? Turning on rewrite engine and so on and so forth. If you have your notes somewhere, please write into that the htaccess file, where you have to lock our direct access to our files, where you pass them as is, and then we need to route everything to this application through index.php. I don't know whether you recall any of that.
Yeah, because I've not reviewed
Mm,
the very last classes.
it's okay. So I'm going to share with you the htaccess file we had. Do you have WhatsApp on this computer?
Yeah, but it's not linked to my phone. WhatsApp.
So can I send to your email?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So as I share to my email, I want you to go to app, views, and then create three files there. Call one file home.php, another one call it, actually you call it homeview.php. Call the second one commentary.php, and then call the third one login.php. That is app, and under app then views. That's where those three files should be. Do you mind sharing with me your? Let me try to get it from our chats. Never mind. Just be working on that.
Come again with the last file I should create.
No, it's the third file was login.php. So I've sent you the htaccess file to your Gmail. Uh, so are you ready with those files? No?
Sit down in the htaccess.
That file is just no, Rich, don't shout. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So if there is a way, if there is a way we can have that very file I've sent you, you move it to the root directory of your project. I really miss using a MacBook. It's been a while since December. I envy you. I'm currently on Linux, but I used to really enjoy the MacBook. Though I learned one thing that it
Yeah,
used not to keep battery, and
yeah,
also
sure.
and also another thing that I sort of recall is if you had an Intel MacBook, unlike these people who have the M processors, it would heat up like nothing. Perfect. So oh, I'm trying to open the same project on my side. I want us to just be on the same page today. Visual. So the purpose of this htaccess file that you've just brought to the root directory is to control how websites are able to access our web application browsers. Sorry. So in the ideal sense is every single time a website tries to access a browser tries to access your website, when someone types in, let's say, sportscorp.com, it looks for a file called index dot maybe html index.php, and then it loads it from there. But as our project keeps on growing, it's so easy for hackers and outsiders to trace our file structure. So we create an htaccess file, which is a file specifically for Apache based websites, to direct the website in the way we want our website to flow. What we are going to learn in the coming days is to ensure that we create our own sort of framework, a framework on which Sportscope would be running. Later on, I'll teach you existing frameworks that are more robust, let's say Klein, and we shall look at Laravel. And if you master these concepts, it will be very easy for you to work around their own. their own frameworks. So what our htaccess file does is, where is mine? So it first turns on a rewrite engine for Apache, and then it tells the I've opened the htaccess file. I hope you also opened yours. It's still loading. Let's wait for you.
Sure.
All right. So I was saying, we have turned on rewrite engine so that the engine of Apache Index or Lightspeed understands that we want to alter how browsers access our web files. Then secondly, we telling them that the root where they are seeing this htaccess file is the root directory. If we wanted our website to be in another subfolder, we would have to mention that the htaccess is on /public. But for our particular case, we are saying slash to mean the root directory. Then the next thing we did is I'm not seeing yours. Let me come back to mine. We are telling it that it we are routing all non-existing files and folders to index.php, so that all folders, that is dash f, and all files, which is dash f, and all directories, which is dash d, can be accessed starting from the index.php. And then in your own comments, I had written for you what QSA and what L means for that particular case. Then we protected the inner files that we shall be having, which is the .m file, the .json file, the .log file, then our readme.md, which is a markdown file, and any logs, our JIT files, and any executable files, which is .sh. sh is the alternative of sh in Windows is the .bat file, so that all these files are denied access by anyone who is not on the browser, no matter their file permissions. And then we ended by disabling all directory listings from our website. Now, having protected all these things, we need to create a file called index.php in the we need to create a file called index.php in the root directory. And the purpose of index.php is to ensure that it's the front controller, it's the main controller, it's the key entry point of every request or to our web application. Let me explain to you why we need that. You would notice that in previous websites, uh, especially web applications, because you're going to build a web application and not a website, you would click on something and then that something would take you to a particular specific file, and that file takes you to another file, and every time you would loiter it would keep on reloading. Lately, let's try to look at this very website we are using, Riverside, for this class. A lot is happening within this SPA, single page application, and this page is using, if you're to go into the developer tools in this own browser and you go under networks, it's calling lots of things and loading lots of things within a singular page. So in modern web development, we are trying our level best, Nasim, to ensure that we have a single entry point of your application, and all other files that have other pages of our application can be accessed through one single page. And by doing so, we are creating a sort of mobile or desktop or native application experience. When you visit WhatsApp on your phone, it will create for you a splash screen where it loads all pages of your WhatsApp on your phone. Then after doing so, when you try to navigate through the different buttons on your WhatsApp, you don't see WhatsApp reloading because everything has been preloaded. So as long as index.php is loaded, all other pages should be loaded, and the page does not need to reload to access these ones. The people will only see changes in the URL at the top bar, but they would be accessing you through the index.php. If at any point you delete index.php, you've deleted the entire app. And in the very first classes we had before we started this round, we were looking at Vue, and Vue had the exact same thing. Everything was routed through index.js, and we kept on creating other Vue files. It's the same with Next.js, it's the same with every single framework out there. So to achieve this, in this very root directory, you're going to create a file called index.php. You create a file called index.php in the root directory. Okay, so to avoid your machine from slowing down, you can try closing some of those other tabs. So when we were studying about PHP, we said that one of the ways we can declare constants in PHP is using the define function. So this is the moment you are going to start the very first thing. So you write on your index.php that you've created in the root directory, that one close to, yeah, you say define. If you have PHP installed, yeah, just click tab and it will autocomplete that. All right, yours didn't. So you're going to say define, and then you'd, if it doesn't complete, it's okay. You can open a bracket, and then we are going to mention, uh, you open the bracket, then in the first quotation mark, they're already telling you the structure of how define works. So in the very first single quotation mark, you're going to say default view in caps.
In
Remember constants,
capital
yeah, in capital letters. And we said that when it comes to, no, 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 don't put any space. You should use an underscore to separate those two words. So in PHP, yeah, underscore view. Good. You close that quotation and say comma, and then the name should be home, just like they've suggested for you. And then you terminate with a colon at the end of the outside the bracket, just like they're recommending you to do. So we have just defined that, but home should be in lowercase. So ideally, what we have just done is that we've mentioned that the default view to load when there is no parameter passed to our website should be the home page. Just in case there are no logins, there are no any other parameters when someone tries to load Sportscope, it should bring them directly to the home page. This is very key in case we have the cache that we shall create when we go deeper into this website. When someone is already logged in and we have the cache in the browser, then it should take them to the home page other than routing them always to the same very page, or maybe if we've forgotten their very last viewed page. So what we've just seen is an illustration of how we define constants. We said that there were about three ways we can define. One was to mention const, but this was the very basic one, which I said would be the default one put at the very top of the PHP file. And the purpose of this is to ensure that this does not have to change. But there is a mistake I see you've made here. It's unfortunate I cannot I cannot zoom, but home is under one quotation mark. It I mean it's one. It only has a closing quotation mark. It doesn't have an opening. Now before the define, I want you to press enter and we declare a PHP function. Just add yes. Go back to line one and open a PHP tag. To open a PHP tag, you open an opening tag, then a question mark PHP. Perfect. So that our code would be defined as PHP. That's okay. That's okay for that line. Then the next thing is that we are going to declare the path to the views directory. So we are going to define where the views are located, where we placed them in our file structure. So we shall say define, and then we shall give it a constant name. Let's use views path. Still the same structure. Views path is in capital letters, separated by an underscore. Wonderful.
Have you seen this blue boundary? Mm,
Come, uh, come again.
have you seen this blue boundary?
What I'm saying is your IDE trying to suggest to autocomplete for you. They are like suggestions, but just continue doing what you have to do. So the views path is
No,
under
no, like
slash.
this blue,
Oh, you're talking of the blue boundary.
yeah,
I think that is. I think that's from your own Mac OS, your Apple computer trying to tell you something to do with the screen reader, optimize some stuff, but don't worry about that. It's nothing related to our code.
okay,
So,
once it comes up, it interrupts my typing. I don't know.
is there a way you can disable it by clicking on this screen reader stuff at the bottom?
Let's continue now.
Come again? Are you ready to continue or is still disturbing you?
Let's continue.
Yeah, so in the next section, just add slash app slash views slash. But before that, there is a recommendation they had put for you of a triple dash dir triple dash. Did you see it somewhere?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that one. First, press the tab bar so that we accept that recommendation. Yeah, that accept that. Then under views, just add slash app before the views because our folder is under app. Okay. All right. So we've just directed our router to exactly where the views are supposed to be found. Try to save your index.php, and if it's possible, you go to your settings and turn on autosave so that you don't need to unless you want to continue doing control s every single time.
Let's continue.
Yeah, so we've so far looked at declarations of constants in those configurations. Now, the next thing we are going to look at is the variables. To look at variables, we had said earlier that you use a dollar symbol in front of a variable. So go to a new line. And in this round, we are going to try to sanitize requested views to our application. Why do we sanitize? We want to remove, try to press enter again. I want to just sort these things in order since we are not adding comments. Now, since at this juncture, I've even forgotten, since there are people who try to access our websites through robots like Python bots, we try to sanitize requests to our own system. So I want you to create a new variable and I want you to call it view. Write a new variable and call it view. If you recall, no, that's not how we write variables in PHP. All right. To write a variable, you write a dollar sign and then the name of your variable view. So a dollar symbol and the word view. So that declares a variable in PHP, and we shall see that. So your version of PHP is still using isset, but we are not going to use isset. We are going to use the get. So you say that um, view equals to, then you write a dollar sign dash and an underscore. Joining, joining.
I don't know what's
Just hit space, then write another dollar sign. I'm going to explain to you what everything means. So space from the equal sign.
it's not moving.
Just keep on ignoring many of these suggestions that the IDE will keep on giving you. Those were made to just make your life simple, but that's not what we want. Just say space dollar sign underscore get.
I'm trying to press the underscore, but it's not working.
No, don't edit the suggestion they've given you. Just continue writing your own stuff. Yeah, those suggestions will keep on coming. Good evening to you too, Pastor. You're most welcome. Thank you, sir.
It's not working.
My day was my day was good, sir. How was yours? Not bad, not bad.
But
Masim, first give me a minute and I first finish prayers. I'm going to get back to you in about 30 minutes.
okay, please.
Hello, hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Let's continue from where exactly where we've stopped. So competent. No, I don't pass him. Okay, I can see your screen. So, mm we had declared the variable view, and we are going to say that that equals to dollar sign underscore get dollar sign underscore get. Okay, let's first complete the entire sentence, then I tell you what it does. Let me see what they are giving you as a default. mm, yeah, you go with what they've given you. That suggestion, accept that suggestion. So ideally, what we've done on that line is that we have um, we are trying to sanitize the requested views. So we are trying to say that it should get the view and display it as the default view. At this stage, if you to visit your website, let's say localhost slash sportscope, and then you add a parameter question mark view equals to, you'd be able to see the different files that we are talking of. Let's say view equals to home, view equals to commentary, view equals to login. So we are trying to sanitize so that um, views are only caught and got through that line of code. What I was telling you earlier before we went for that short break, I'll be a little fast this time around, was that we are trying to make sure that the entire application runs within index.php. So on a new line, I want you to write a new variable for view. You know, we can redeclare variables in PHP. So you write dollar sign view equals to. So in the second view, we are going to try to replace, not replacing, we're going to try to, this time around, sanitize alphanumeric characters, these so-called hyphens, underscores that might be in the names of our view files up there, so that we prevent attackers or hackers from accessing some of our sacred or private data by just saying view equals to dash 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 etc password, and then they try to access personal passwords of people. So we are going to say exactly what they've told, they've suggested for you there. Just say accept. So that's exactly what it does. Now you might have seen that in PHP, reserved variables start with an underscore and are always in capital letters, whereas your own variables do not have a trailing underscore in front of them. And you start with a small letter, like we said in our previous class, and then the second word starts with a capital letter without a space. So we've so far seen reserved variables like get, which we shall use a lot in APIs to get stuff from the database. We've seen preg replace, which is an inbuilt operand that is sanitizing all the dashes and all alphanumerals that will be in our get request. Then the next thing is that we are going to write a line that says, in case we fail with the sanitization, if sanitization is left an empty string in someone's browser or in the address menu, then what gets to happen? Just in case someone is trying to access a specific file in our application, and then the two sanitizations as they filter the parameter of the file that someone is trying to access, ends up with an empty, then what will really happen? Now in this, why am I bringing in this one in our index.php? I want you to see how we use the if functions or the conditions in PHP. So you click enter and say if. Mm-hmm. Let me see what they've suggested for you there, and I see if it's what we really want. No, we are interested in empty, not if it exists. So you say brackets are empty into a small bracket. Yeah, just accept what they've given you. So what we've just said is that we want if sanitization is left an empty string, this says this is the correct syntax. You know, programming is a language, so if you can't read out something, then that something is wrong. We've said that if the view that we are trying to call is empty, then the view should be the default view. And remember, we have already defined the default view as a constant, which means home. So this in simple terms says that if the link of the person that they are trying to access does not exist, please take them back to the home page. That's what that line means. And that's in principle, that's how we use the if function in PHP. Soon we shall look at so many ways of coming up with ifs, else if, and then the else. But for now, let's stick to that. Now, so far, we've been able to do three things. We've been able to write the configurations where we defined home and the views directory. We've been able to do sanitization of our requests to the views folder, where we said that let's get the default view, then let's try to replace the different alphanumeric characters, the hyphens and the underscores, and then we got a fallback in that if. The third thing that we are going to do in the index file is to build the full path for the view file. To build, here I'm going to teach you something called concatenation. Concatenation simply means Nasim, if you are, I don't know, my battery is low, kind of give me about 1 minute and I first plug in. Right. Hello, Nassim. Uh, we had reached. Okay, before I went off, I was saying that the third thing we're going to do is to resolve the view file path. And where I said that we are going to learn concatenation, then I say that in in English, concatenation is something like this. If Nassim, you got married to, um, no, if a woman called Hasifa got married to a man called Nassim Najib, Hasifa would be called Hasifa Najib, taking on your other name. That's what we call concatenation. It allows them to carry on something and it's added onto it. Now in PHP, there are so many things that we can do. In one of them is we can create file paths. In future you'll be able to create things like files. You can create a dynamic file whereby if someone purchases a ticket on your application, then you can try to generate for them a PDF link which they can click and then they download that PDF that you've generated from your own system. So this is something similar that we are going to do on the next step. We are going to create a path through which we shall display at the top as the name of the file these people have visited. Now, in principle, these files are going to be under app, views, and the files you named them, for example, login.php. However, that exposes our file path. So what we want to do is that when someone visits our website, let's say sportscope.com, they should see sportscope.com /sport login.php to hide from them the actual file path of our system. To achieve this, we are going to create a new variable called view file. And yeah, you write a new variable and call it view file. A variable starts with a dollar symbol and it doesn't have an underscore. The first letter is always lowercase and the second one is uppercase. Make the F capital F. I don't know whether I can see very well. Your screen is a little bit tiny on my side. Yes, so Yeah, exactly what they've suggested is what I wanted to do. So that dot, you accept that. That dot between those things you're saying concatenates two things together, and you'll be seeing this dot so many times, like we saw it in the theory part of everything. So this will build a views path and then concatenate it with a new view that we shall define .php. Now the fourth thing that we are going to do is we are going to load the view and show a 404 page. Simply, if a file does not exist, often the browser will tell you that that page does not exist with a 404. But have you ever wondered how? My goodness, as if that's what they're suggesting to you that I've been talking about. Have you ever wondered sometimes when you visit a website and the file does not exist, they put for you some kind of a graphic, and that graphic tells you about and that graphic tells you that that page does not exist with a small moving animation. So those things are set by saying that if file exists, you have yes, else. Now you see, I earlier showed you if alone. Now we've seen if with an else, just in case the if function is not met. And instead of the one that they've suggested for you, I want you to clean everything within the else area and just leave the opening and the closing curl brackets. No, 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 no. Yeah. Yes. Perfect. So press tab, press enter. So we are going to say that HTTP response code 404. You can press tab to autocomplete that. Yeah, exactly 404. Then after the termination colon, press enter. So we are saying that the HTTP response view file, if it's not found, then send a 404 header and load the 404 view. So how do we load the 404 view? We are going to say that declare a new variable and call it not found file. Always remember with variables, the first word starts with the lowercase and the rest are always uppercase. So not file. Let me see what they're giving you. Views path 404.php. Yeah, that's okay. Exactly that. That in case that file does not exist, that has been requested, then we have our own file that we are going to develop, and it's called 404.php. That's what someone says. So let's start a new condition inside of the else. So this is called nested conditions. A nested conditions means exactly what they've suggested actually. Just accept that. It's fine. So this says that if the file exists, not found file, then load a custom 404 view if it exists. So if page is not found, then look for a file called 404.php and give it to them. But if it's not found, then try to echo that text they've given you. And with that marks the end of our index.php. Index.php, you can click Ctrl S to save. Index.php is the starting entry point for our application, and every time our application runs, the major rules that govern our application will be in index.php. Soon we shall be able to add more things to this index.php, for example, telling it where the controllers are, trying to define the configurations of where the configurations to the database are, etc. But with this is the very most best, and I'm very happy at the PHP you've written. I want you to take time to look at the syntax of the PHP you've written, and you'll see the different structures of how variables are written, uppercase, lowercase, if functions that start with that kind of a bracket, where the else goes, and how to nest everything. And what I talked about, the inbuilt variables always start with an underscore. With that, allow me to first end today's class right there. Then tomorrow, we shall move on from this to creating the different views and the 404 page that we've mentioned there. Then after that, we shall skip PHP for now and then jump directly into databases, because the purpose of backend is to communicate to databases. So we shall jump into database, then back to PHP. Nasim, unless you have further questions beyond here, I'm willing to answer them all.
For now, there is not any questions. I've just been the previous classes. In case there is, I come across inbox in
Uh, uh, I quite didn't catch what you said. Do you mind texting it in the chat area of this meeting? Okay. You're saying uh, you don't have anything. You mean you don't have any questions at the moment? Still reviewing the last three classes, and in case I come across anything, I'll reach out. Okay, sir. All right, sir. I would like to thank you for your time today. Mm, of course, we always don't need to rush, and I know in the next class we shall proceed from right there. The goal is to ensure that we complete each and everything we are supposed to study, and then you become a person who can program stuff on your own. With this, I request to end this class. Have a good night, sir.